I hope you'll enjoy this episode of the Mom View sponsored by the Herzog Foundation. In 1862, President Lincoln established the Department of Agriculture. He called it the People's Department because so many Americans at the time were actually farmers. Today, it's one of the largest departments in the government. Our guest today is the head of the USDA, United States Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, is on the Mom View.
Hello. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are we're so excited to chat with you. You are a powerhouse. Our mamas absolutely love what you're doing because farming, fresh foods, agriculture, these are so important to America.
Yes.
All right.
That's right. So happy to be here.
Yes. So let's start with, I've watched a couple of interviews with you. You're a very interesting woman. And God has blessed you with so many beautiful talents. So let's talk a little bit about the beginning days here. You grew up on a small farm.
I did. So, well, first of all, what a joy to be on with all of my moms and this incredible organization. And we're here at America First Policy Institute Studio.
Fabulous.
Partners alongside you all. And, of course, the organization that was in my head exactly 5 years ago, but never knew. I know. It's so full circle. So we've really
absolutely loved being here.
Yeah. So. Thank you. It's your home too.
Yes.
So speaking of home, I grew up, I say the best childhood of all, but a little unconventional. I grew up with a single mom. My parents split up when I was very young, and my dad wasn't really part of my growing up, and my mom never remarried. So it was my mom and my two younger sisters and me. And we struggled. I mean, my mother would, she would say too, it was month to month and credit cards and she had a few small businesses, but some months were better than others. But the middle of that, we had this incredible piece of property that my grandmother had helped my mom with before, right around when I was born. And it was about, 50 or so acres. And we raised animals, we baled hay. We really got the best of what I believe of any childhood and being in rural America.
Because you were doing it all.
Fixing fences. It was the girls. Fixing fences, changing oil, driving the tractor, raising the animals. A town of about 1,200 people on the plains of Texas. And I wasn't sure what was next. I ended up getting an agriculture scholarship through the Future Farmers of America to study ag, and of course the school in Texas to do that, Texas A&M.
Sure.
And off I went, and the rest is, as they say, history. But it was an amazing childhood.
Isn't that incredible how God prepared you for your position now?
It is.
Looking back, you must be like, wow, all the pieces in the puzzle are just perfect.
I talk about that a lot now, and being very faithful and believing so much in God's hand and paths that you go on that you never would have imagined, but that God has directed for you. And my goodness, I can't even believe it. And I remember talking to the president about this, President Trump, in the first term, when we would be in the Oval Office and I was the head of Domestic Policy Council in the first term and all the domestic policy issues. And we'd be in the Oval and talking about issue A, and it'd have some sort of agriculture bent to it. And we didn't have anyone in the West Wing that had any ag background except for me. And so all of a sudden, we'd be talking about issue X, and the president would say, well, I wish we had an ag person here. And I'd say, well, sir, don't forget, I'm from a small town, rural America, a small farm. My family farmed row crops for generations in Minnesota. I grew up in Texas, ag degree. And so finally, he sort of, it's interesting, had it in his mind. And so that's how I think eventually, but to your point, I never even considered Secretary of Agriculture. It was not really on my bingo card. I've never really had a bingo card, but this one certainly was not.
It wasn't on your bucket list.
No, it wasn't on my bucket list, but now 10 months in is the greatest job. It's hard, but it's the greatest job. And I'm so honored, and it's like full circle for me every day. It's just such a blessing.
I do want to get a little bit more into your role, your position, and what all that looks like. But I saw in an interview where you said you were and you just referred to your faith.
Yeah.
At one point, you were even thinking about being in the ministry, but God has used you here. This is your ministry.
Yeah, this is my ministry.
Yeah.
It's funny, none of the thing that matters the most is your family and your children.
Amen.
And for me, that's it. And the rest of this I've kind of fit in along the way. The rest of the work, and it's God's been very good to us and our family, and I have the most amazing 4 kids. My oldest is a junior at Texas A&M, Corps Cadets, mechanical engineer, finance degree. And when asked, he'll tell you he wants to be a pastor. And I say that because there's no greater blessing, I think, than a family and children that are walking the faith and that are bringing their own light to a dark world. And it reminds me of all those years ago when I was trying to figure out where do I go and what do I do. And even the conversations I have with not just Luke, my oldest, but all of my kids, that God will put you on a mission field.
He sure will.
And your role is to make disciples of all the nations. And whether that's in a church or in a classroom as a teacher, staying at home with your children, or on this world stage that I never expected or planned for, but that opportunity is it's everything, and I feel it every single day. Implementing and fighting for God's vision is what we're doing every day.
Amen. Balancing motherhood, Washington, D.C., the travel. I follow you on Instagram, girl. I can't believe you are even alive right now. You're in every state, every farm, all across. It's just absolutely amazing. Is that probably typical of your position? Or have you just set a standard that no one else is ever going to be able to
that's so kind. I am so... You take energy and you get energy from these unbelievable opportunities and the people around you. And I think this is why I've loved this job more than I ever could have imagined, is I was just with the amazing Everett family in Indiana, I think a week ago. 5th generation row croppers, corn and soybean, drove the combine with them, met all the kids, the grandma, the great-grandma, the great-granddad, all of them.
The whole legacy, huh?
Yes, and I'm like, this is what we're fighting for. And it's funny, it took me back to, we were in a cabinet meeting in the first term, and I'll never forget the president saying, and he had just spent some time with some Georgia cotton farmers, and he talked about how all these lobbyists had come in the Oval, and they were all asking for billions of dollars, and they were asking for a bailout. And I'll never forget, and I was on senior staff then, but him looking at the cabinet around the table, this is 6 or 7 years ago, and saying, we're here for that cotton farmer in Georgia. And he said that cotton farmer with hat in hand, who'd just been destroyed by the hurricane, who couldn't see how they were going to plant the next season's cotton. Instead, the president said, when they came to me, they shook my hand, hat in hand, so they'd had a tough time of it, but they're fighters, and they're so grateful for President Trump. And it really struck him, and I'll never forget him telling that story. And now I get to live that every day with these incredible people across this country that just want to farm the land, very godly, scripture-based, righteous work. They just, in Exodus, the land of milk and honey, right? I mean, they just want to farm the land, and I'm here to fight for them, for their future generations of farmers. And if we lose that, we lose our country. I really believe that. That's how important this is.
We sure do. You're doing, like I said, you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Did you ever, obviously you never saw yourself in this seat.
No.
But as soon as the president said to you, would you like it? And you were like, oh yeah.
Well, it's funny. Because I was with the president the first term.
Right.
Listen, when that second election was taken from us, I believe, and he sure believed it, I knew that it couldn't end with that. I knew that what he represented in that first administration, that if we weren't able to build the infrastructure around that for 100 years, that we would eventually lose America. He was such a game changer. He spoke to so many people. He was a disruptor. First time he ever spent the night in Washington was his first night in the White House. I mean, this is what the founders envisioned, and we'd gotten so far away from that on both Republican and Democrat. So when we were, in the dark days of November, December, January, 2020, 2021, when everyone else, our people couldn't get a job. No one knew what they were going to do. That president looked like he could head to prison. I mean, it was really, really scary. It was terrifying. But in my heart, I knew that we had to build something. I didn't know what it was, but I knew we had to build something. And so in doing so, in those early January, February, March of 21, the president didn't have many people calling him, right? I mean, everyone said, we've got to move on, so-and-so's the future, or so-and-so's the future. And the president, there was still a core group of us that were really strongly, just there for him. And I didn't know he was going to run again. But I felt so passionately that what he had started and his legacy had to live forever. And whatever I had to do to make sure that happened, I was going to do. So the point of that is, for the intervening 4 years between Trump 1 and Trump 2, President Trump and I had hours, dozens, hundreds of hours of conversations of what would we do next? Well, what if I do run? Well, what if we win? Who should be in the cabinet? And no, and my plan was never to be. I still had kids at home in Texas. My husband has a very demanding job. They're 15, 17, 19, and 21.
Okay.
So I've got 2 in college now and 2 in.
So right, you're going back 4 years. That's a big difference.
They were all still in high school
Yeah.
4 years ago, and so it was never in my plan ever. First said he was going to run, but then he was running, which was amazing. And then he was going to win. And I knew when he ran, he probably would win if we could get the cheating under control, which we did. Yeah. But in all of that, never in a million years plan to come back to Washington. So it's a much longer story for another conversation. But yeah, we as we were building out his cabinet, I have a whiteboard in my home office that I still have. I don't know what to do with because I feel like it's historical. And every time we'd talk, and I had every cabinet position listed, Treasury, State, Interior, Housing. And he would say a different name, and I'd write the name up. Because then he'd call me a week later and say, well, wait, who were we thinking? And he does this with a lot of people. It's not, I'm not going to pretend this was only me. But he does this with a lot of people. He loves people so much. But no, nowhere on the whiteboard is my name anywhere. And anytime we brought it up, I'd say, no, sir, that's not going to be my role. Maybe once all my kids are in college. So for a lot of reasons, this was not what I expected. But we had an incredible conversation. He asked, me, we talked about it. I had said absolutely no to some other things. And then this one just felt different. And when it came up, it was like God had sort of prepared me, and the light kind of came on, and I hadn't thought about it. I thought, oh, that's a job I could do. And if he wants me to do it, I'll do my very best.
Yeah, to God be the glory. What an opportunity.
Yeah, amen.
So now let's talk about the Department of Agriculture. Is this the third largest?
Yes, it is.
I mean,
a gigantic
so not only did you walk into
beast
this
of an agency that I, even having been in the first term, did not fully understand.
The massiveness.
But it is. When we left after Trump won, it was about 98,000 employees. Under Biden, of course, it jumped up to about 110,000. We're now down back to around 90,000. So we've, through kind of trying to deconstruct a lot of the administrative state, a lot of the DEI, climate craziness, we've been able to align. But it's everything from food stamps is our SNAP is our biggest program.
A lot of talk about SNAP.
Talk about SNAP right now. But all the farm programs, the rural development programs. It is so massive. Every county in America has a USDA office to serve our farmers. We've got the firefighters. We've got almost 15,000 firefighters because of Forest Service. USDA has the Forest Service, so all the national forests. We have all the food safety inspectors. So about 7,000 that are added to all the plants, making sure that the beef and the chicken and everything's safe and there's no salmonella or anything that could hurt a human.
I don't know how you keep
animal
this straight.
Disease. I mean, it's incredible how big it is and vast.
29 agendas, is that right? I mean,
29 mission areas, 29 massive mini agencies within the big agency that are still thousands of people. But it's been incredible, and the people that are there, it's not perfect, and we're realigning and reorganizing and shrinking. But I have been just so impressed with the careers that have been there through multiples of administrations, Republicans and Democrats, and they're excited we're there, and they're excited for the work ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's not. I mean, this isn't a party.
That's right.
This is America.
Yeah,
this is America's farmland, America's food.
That's exactly right.
You talked about you're trying to make some adjustments.
Yes.
I'm sure
Every day.
you walked into that and said, okay, these things need to be adjusted.
Yes.
Cut, realign. Some of the things you're working on, or maybe just some of the crazy things that were so
Well,
obvious.
that's, on day one, I was sworn in on February 13th. The landing team got there on January 20th. So they were there about 10 or 20 days before. Part of one of the big projects here at America First Policy, though, was a transition project.
Right.
We did it under the radar. We were not part of the bigger Project 2025, although great work came out of that as well. But my whole vision on our transition project was we had almost 900 people working on 196 different agency plans over the course of 3 years. We never talked about it in the press. We didn't do any press releases. We didn't give any speeches. We just put people to work. And it was all people from the first Trump administration that we reorganized to prepare. And whether it was Donald Trump or another new president, but our side's never prepared, ever. And we walk in and we don't know how to govern. We know how to build businesses. We know how to raise families. We know how to support churches, but we are not of government. We don't want government. We want it out of our lives.
Right, we don't want this big. Right.
That's right. So that's why it took us a couple years in Trump 1 to even figure out where the bathrooms were, how to fire people, everything. So I said, we're not going to do that again.
No.
So because of that, USDA and all the other agencies had a pretty significant plan that had been worked on for a couple of years before we got there. So we knew on day one, we canceled 900 DEI trainings. We gutted about $500 million in climate change grants that went to far left radical socialist organizations. One of the grants we canceled was for transgender farmers in San Francisco working on food justice, just to give you just one example
Oh boy, that's
hundreds
loaded.
and thousands of them, right? So we were just really working to realign the whole USDA around farmers and agriculture and putting, getting the political agendas out of it and instead putting first things first. And that's what we've been doing at USDA, which has been really cool.
Some of the goals that when you look at next year and the
Yes.
250th, I know in here you've
Yes.
got a lot of ideas and you've been doing farmer markets and you've been traveling.
Yeah.
What can we expect?
Well, I think it's funny. I worked on America at 250 in 2019 when I was in the first. And thinking as we were building America at 250, we were building it for a new president.
Right.
I mean, that's what's so wild. Now that we're back, we're going to actually get to
And to do
effectuate
it with
it.
President Trump.
Yes, no, it's just a dream. So, and again,
dream.
it's a dream. Agriculture being at the center of all of it. George Washington was at his heart, and Thomas Jefferson. They were both farmers. 95% of Americans at our founding were agriculture farmers. They were farming their land. Today, even though it's, less than 2%, I think most Americans understand they are, farmers are constitutive of all the rest of us. They're the best of us. And so taking us back to that original vision of the farm and land and rural communities and the pioneer spirit and the warrior ethos. I mean, this is all born of an agricultural era that now we get the chance to bring back full circle. And as everyday Americans have leaned into the Make America Healthy Again effort and bringing health back into our discussions over healthcare and food and agriculture, it's a complete pivot for USDA and for really everyone in this world who has for so long bigger bushels. What can we produce the most of? How do we quantity? We're now looking at quality. And instead of school lunches getting thrown, most schools don't even have an oven to cook anymore. Everything is out of a package, warmed up and thrown into a dish. How do we go back to that original idea of nutritious, locally grown, healthy foods for all of us, but especially for our vulnerable communities that don't have access to it, and especially for our school children. So we're working on that every day too.
I know you are. And just that healthy food and the organics and farm to table. I mean, this is really very, very popular in families, and moms
sure
are so
is.
concerned about their food. And I was just, Kimberly and I were just talking about farms and farmlands, and you love to pull over and get that fresh corn or stop
beautiful.
by and get those eggs.
Yes.
And just to make sure that they have that opportunity and America doesn't lose their agriculture.
That's right. And the farmers market piece of this is so cool. And we did a huge farmers market on the National Mall
saw
in
that.
August, which is very special.
Will you do that next year?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. In fact, we're taking it on the road, so more to come on that. The first time I've said it on camera, but there's more coming. But it is really, really exciting, and it good healthy food has no party.
No.
It has no skin color. It has no socioeconomic level. Ideally, we're all moms and dads and sisters and brothers and daughters and sons, and everyone deserves that opportunity to have the best food for a long and healthy life. And it's funny, I through my career work in public policy, we work very closely with Dr. Alveda King, and she's one of my favorite people in the world. We talk about kind of the civil rights issue of our time. And for so long, for me, the civil rights issue of our time was school choice and how we get good education to every child in America, no matter from where they are, where they're raised. But now part of me thinks maybe the civil rights issue of our time is this nutritious, healthy food and opening up those markets for everyone, but especially those with the least among us.
Right.
Yeah.
We are in a health crisis.
Yes.
Our food is so important to
That's
us,
right.
and it has just declined so much. Okay, last question.
Yes.
We were able to give you a Mother of Influence Award
Oh,
at CPAC.
no,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
and we so admire what you're doing
Thank
just as a
you.
mom. Advice to our moms that are watching, balancing motherhood in this culture, words of encouragement that you've learned. You know,
Yes.
you're still in the game, being
Yes.
mama, and we never stop.
Yes,
I'd
exactly.
love to have you just talk to our moms a little bit about advice.
I love that. Well, the first thing I'll say is my oldest is 21. So 21 times 12, 210, I don't know, let's say 200 for 230 months. At the end of every month, beginning when Luke was born, I would assess, am I able to put my children and my family first? And if I'm not, then I'm got to pull away from my work. And every month, all the way through all this time. And so for me, putting those kids and our family first was always the most important. And what I said was, I've always tried. Sometimes I've failed spectacularly, but I have
All of
always
us, right?
yes, I give ourselves some grace. I have always tried to be a stay at home mom. And from my perspective, that's defined as someone that can take your kids to school, pick them up, be a room mom, help with homework, be present.
Be present.
I've always been a stay-at-home mom that fits work in, right? When they go to bed, at nap time, when they all go to school, and finding something you love to do. It's never been a job for me, the work that I've done outside of my home.
I love that.
And it's just come along in parallel and in partnership. And so I feel like I have been extremely lucky. I think today nothing's ever easy. This isn't easy, but there are so many more opportunities today for young women.
Right, for
You know,
moms
we
too,
have
right.
so many young moms here at America First Policy. I have so many young moms at USDA. Like,
The White
bring your
House,
kids to
yeah.
work. Come put a pack and play in my office. Like, this is 100%. I said, Sarah Sanders is one of my best friends, the governor of Arkansas. She actually requires her young moms to bring their babies to work a couple days a week and just have them running around the offices. And I just, for me, it's probably not true for everyone. And I realize everyone has a different opinion about this. But for me, those 4 kids, my 4 kids that came in 5 years, better prepared me than anything else to work to save America. They inspire
So
me.
true.
They encourage me. They keep me very humble. They keep me
Yes,
very
they
humble.
do. Mom.
Yes. River looked really bad on TV yesterday. We need to work on that.
Mom.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also good. And ultimately, I think having Christ and our faith at the center of all of it and understanding what God's calling is on our life. This is the last thing I'll say. I do multiples of Bible studies. In fact, it's so great. My daughter Anna is a senior, and I think she leads 3 or 4 Bible studies a week in her high school. I mean, it's just that's so cool. Like, talking about all my kids are so faith centered. But I have part of a cabinet Bible study, and I have a couple others that I'm part of.
It's beautiful.
And it is amazing. And a few years ago, one of those Bible studies studied the importance of answering God's call.
Amen.
And starting in Exodus, and God calling Moses, and when Moses was kind of trying to ignore him, because he said, I don't know
not
if
me,
that's
Lord.
for me. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I don't know if I can lead 2 million people out of Egypt. And God lit the bush on fire and said, pay attention here. Yeah. And that study was really focused on answering God's call, whatever that looks like. And I think I certainly agree and love the idea of, single income families and women that want to stay home. And I applaud that and I honor that. I think that's amazing. But I also think there's a way to do all of it and do it in a way that honors God, honors your husband, honors your children, honors the family unit, but also gives you this amazing pathway to go fight for what you believe in and do it very, very effectively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amen,
thank
sister.
you. Yes.
Amen. And that is so true. And as moms, we have the opportunity to do it all.
Yeah.
God's called us to greatness. He's given us the best job in the world.
That's right.
Love God, love family, love country. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Oh, thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
It's such a joy.